You know what they call me. They call me B-Murph. Now in today's news, well, there is no news, so let's just throw that out. So since there's no news, we're going to do something just a little different. Today we're going to be discussing, God only knows why, The Crucible by Arthur Miller, which, you know, it was a play about some people that did some things. Some people died, you know. I don't know, just shut up. Anyway, let's get back to The Crucible. Man, I can't believe I had to go through and read this thing. You know, we did it in class. Because, you know, we all know this is a project. But, you know, it wasn't half bad. I'll give it that. But let's just discuss what happened. When Paris caught them, not only were they dancing in the woods around a giant fire, and they were naked. I don't know what the heck they were thinking. They were just, I don't know what the heck they were thinking. Now John Proctor, who's a local farmer, as they like to call him, he had a bit of an affair with one of these girls. Abigail Williams was that girl. Abigail's the ringleader. She's the one who is all over everybody. She yells at everybody. It's, oh my gosh, it's horrible. And then how she wants to take John Proctor away from his wife, Elizabeth. I don't know what the heck she's thinking. And then John goes with it. For a period of like a month, they actually had a little bit of an affair. Now, unbeknownst to any of us, or them for that matter, Abigail actually worked for the Proctors about a year ago. They fired her right after Elizabeth found out about the affair, and then all things just got heavy from there. Then all the girls, randomly, after Betty falls back into a coma, just start naming names of people who were witches, and they say, oh, I saw this person with the devil. Oh, I saw this person with the devil. And then Betty wakes up and joins in on the party. Now that's just not, no, that's not cool. And after all these accusations were made, Reverend Paris brought in another minister from another town, just the town over, of Beverly. It was Reverend Hale. So Hale and Paris go and visit Tituba, and they accuse her, well, not really accuse her, but indirectly accuse her of being associated with the devil. Now, she ultimately confesses to the crime of witchcraft, which is true, and they take her off to the jail. A little bit later, inside of John Proctor's farmhouse, John and Elizabeth just discuss the trials, I guess, I don't know. So after John and Elizabeth have this little talk about the trials, Mary Warren comes back, and John, flipped out at her and tried to get her to say stuff what was going on at the trials and all this other nonsense. And obviously she can't say anything because she's taken an oath from court. And then right after that, Giles Corey, who was Giles Corey was a good man, I guess. He was in court a bunch of times, and then he tells that to the judges. And then also Frances Nurse, whose wife is probably one of the most Christian people in the little village of Salem. And both of their wives have been accused of witchcraft, which, as far as we're concerned, those people are good people. Good Christian women, and we don't know why they're being accused of witchcraft. Two elderly women, for crying out loud, who are good Christians. I don't know what the heck they're thinking by doing that. Just before they send Mary Warren up to bed, Mary mentioned something about Elizabeth's name coming up in court. So after they send Mary Warren to bed, John Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor are visited by Reverend Hale. So when Reverend Hale gets there, they decide to talk about the court and why Elizabeth's name's been brought up, and that there's the possibility that Elizabeth could be arrested tonight on accusations of witchcraft. And I don't know what the heck they're thinking. This witchcraft stuff it's just stupid. And it all results back to one person, and that would be Abigail. And she just refuses to admit that she's the one who caused all of this. Now we can just get rid of this one, because that's the end of that stuff. So Elizabeth reluctantly decides that she needs to go with Ezekiel after they have their little argument about whether she should go or not. So the next day, Mary Warren and John Proctor and Giles Corey and Francis Nurse, obviously, because those people are all trying to get people out of jail. So apparently that night, Elizabeth found out she was pregnant after they did like a little pregnancy test on her, I guess, I don't know. And, I'm sorry, that would be my cell phone. I don't know what I'm doing. Hello? Okay. No, we're talking about the Crucible. Oh my goodness, I'm way off on all this stuff. I gotta get back at it. I'm sorry, I'll be back. So anyway, I was not wrong. I just looked some stuff up, and I was right. As usual. B. Murphy's always right, don't you guys know that? Come on. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Elizabeth and being pregnant. So when Danforth decides to tell John that she is pregnant, he comes out and says, oh, that woman will not tell a lie. She has to be pregnant. So John Proctor, who is very furious about all this, decides to admit that he had the affair with Abigail about a year ago. So then Danforth decides, okay, let's bring in Elizabeth. If she truly can't tell a lie, then she will confess as well that he has committed the crime of adultery. So they bring Elizabeth. John and Abigail's backs are turned, and Danforth asks her, did your husband commit the crime of lechery? Elizabeth's response was just simply, no. Then John turns around to Elizabeth and says, Elizabeth, I've confessed it. And she just looks down and says, oh no. So after John goes storming out of the court, everyone follows him. And they end up in the river. So when Danforth looks at him, he just gives him this stink eye kind of thing and just asks John while he's in the water, are you associated with the devil? John just thinks that Abigail is a whore, just like he said before, and just goes and screams out 3 big words from a movie we kind of saw in religion. God is dead. So after that, John is arrested on suspicion of witchcraft and on the crime of blasphemy. So a few months have passed. Abigail goes with Mercy Lewis. They go and steal all of Paris's money and just run away. So the day has come for John Proctor, along with Rebecca Nurse and Martha Corey, to face their fate and be hanged. On this day, Reverend Hale comes early, tries to get Danforth to let Elizabeth talk to John to try to get him to admit that he is a witch. Elizabeth does not promise them anything, but eventually does go to talk to him, and John ultimately agrees to just admit it and just move on with his life. Now Danforth wants John to write his confession, sign it, and then they will put it on the church door so that everyone can see it. John is baffled by all of this, how he just has to have it stuck up to the church. He doesn't understand why that needs to be it, that his verbal confession is just not enough. He eventually tells him the confession is a lie, he hugs and kisses Elizabeth, and then they go to the scaffold, where John and Rebecca and Martha are due to die that morning. Well, that's the end of this. So, let's get rid of that nonsense. So on that note, I will leave you with one final thing. Any of you that play baseball, which I know there are people in this room that play baseball, this is for you guys.